Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 327 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How's it going this fine Monday, Richard?
I'm doing very well, Seth. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty well as well. It's actually getting a little nicer, finally in upstate New York. It feels like spring, so yeah, feeling pretty good today. But we have another co-host in Krim. How's this Monday treating you, Krim?
A little bit better than the last one. But yeah, like still have a little bit of sniffles and stuff like that. And I can't tell if now it's just like allergy season is going into like hardcore mode.
Yeah, it is that time of year, I think, for allergies. So, well, I'm glad you're doing a little better than last week, at least. So, this week, kind of a weird week podcast-wise. There wasn't any, like, one big piece of news. Tournaments are kind of still where they are at. No, like, super big changes there. So, we're going to jump around to a few interesting topics. There was some big celebrity news this week about Post Malone playing Magic, so we're going to talk about that. There was some Wizards financial information. They had their Q1 reports. So we're going to talk a little bit about Wizards revenue and how Magic is doing from that perspective. NFTs may be coming to Magic also on the list. And then, of course, answering some fish mail because it's been a minute. We missed it last week. So we'll get to your fish mail questions today. But before we get into all that, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit. And if you've ever tried to sell your Magic cards, it's a lot of work. You got to do a lot of typing and sorting, and it's just really not all that much fun. Well, Card Conduit, they are the easiest way to sell your cards, and if you want to avoid those hassles and avoid all the time it takes to sell your cards, this new service from the folks over at Card Hoarder will sort, grade, and even sell your Magic cards for you, and once your shipment is processed, you'll receive their proceeds minus their fee, and right now you can even get a 10% discount by heading over to cardconduit.com/goldfish. So thank you so much to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. Let's talk starting with probably the biggest news of the week. So this past week, there were some like pictures on Twitter, on Reddit of Post Malone at a local game store. And then it kind of came out that Post Malone's a Magic player and going to go on game nights and all this stuff. So did you guys see the Post Malone news? First off, what did you think of that?
I think it's really cool. Seeing, more, it kind of feels like a small world kind of brought together by, Magic, the Gathering. And, I think that's pretty cool, right? Cause there's gotta be tons of other, celebrities and whatnot that also play the game, but we just don't know. And there's just something cool about seeing, an A-list celebrity who is into the kind of the same things that you are.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for Post Malone, though. He's like just trying to play some Magic and he's getting mobbed by like everyone. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to cast like some Strixhaven, man. Like everyone's just bombing him. TMZ's coming up, paparazzis like all over the place.
What do you think he plays?
I heard rumors that he's a Commander player. I think
right.
That much is pretty well known, but the rumor going around is he is a Azure player is his like main deck in Commander.
Yeah, I heard there was a Platinum Angel involved, all this other stuff. So, I'm excited to see this episode.
Do you judge him differently based on his Magic tastes? What if he's a Simic player?
Well, I would understand. Power creep is a thing.
I think this is actually like kind of a big deal. We've seen a lot of advertising attempts lately from Wizards to like have celebrities and celebrities and whatever, like kind of advertise the game. I think what kind of sets this one apart for me is this one actually seems very authentic and organic. Like, I think this is a case where like Post Malone actually likes playing Magic. This isn't like, oh, Wizards, paid someone a ton of money to tweet about their game or to do a promotion for the game. This is just like, hey, I really like this game. And I think that's way more impactful advertising wise, at least for me. Like the like Mr. Beast thing definitely a cool promotion, and I think it's a sweet thing for Wizards to do. But when it's like, all right, Wizards like paid someone a bunch of money to like put their name on it and try to draw their fans into the game, I'm kind of like, okay, like that's what corporations do. That's the whole gimmick of advertising. But when you have someone that's just like, hey, this game's really fun, I'm gonna play it, and like that's way more impactful, I think, because it just feels more real. So I don't know, how much does this move the needle, do you think, Magic wise? Because Post Malone is kind of huge. Like, this isn't some, D-list celebrity. Like, Post Malone is like legitimately one of the most listened to artists on Spotify, a straight up like A-list celebrity. Like, does this move the needle? Is this gonna, I hear people say like the D&D moment like they had with Stranger Things. Everyone's waiting for that to happen to Magic. Like, is this the, Magic's version of Stranger Things, like breaking into the mainstream?
That I'm sure some people will get into, Magic through just like how big, Post Malone is. I think Post Malone might be bigger than actually just Magic. So it'll be cool. But, I think it does just a little bit, at least for like the younger, crowd from Post Malone who are, still kind of like figuring out what their hobbies are and stuff like that as they get older, and seeing some of your favorite celebrities and whatnot into certain things can sway who you are growing up. So I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think I agree with Krim. Like, some people will pick it up because of Post Malone, but I think it'll actually really help kind of the older crowd that played Magic at some point and stopped. Like, you probably see the news and you're like, people are still playing Magic the Gathering. Like, oh, maybe I should check it out because I used to like it, back in college or back when I was a kid, and it's still around, so I'll check it out. So I feel that factor will be a lot higher, but you can't say no to free advertising, right? Like, whether it does something or not, like, you just get enough of it and it works. Like, nobody sees an ad and, picks up whatever it is. You don't like drive down the street, see a Mercedes ad and be like, yeah, I'll just buy a Mercedes right now, right? Like, no, that doesn't really work like that, right? But like, after looking at this ad for like 5 years and being bombarded on TV, movie shows, television, when you're older and you're like, I need to buy a high-end car, Mercedes might pop into your head, right? And then you'll buy it at that point, right? So maybe Post Malone is not, the first thing that causes people to buy Magic, but then maybe next week they see news about Magic NFTs. And then the week after they see, I don't know, like a trailer for the new Magic set. Like, maybe like those three combined will push you into starting Magic the Gathering. So I feel it definitely helps, and it's way better when it's organic, right? Like, when it's not paid for and he genuinely loves it. I'm just really thankful he was playing Commander and not Vintage or something. Like, can you imagine, like, Magic the Gathering, only Post Malone can afford to play this. Here he is with the Black Lotus and like Power 9, right? Like, thank God it was Commander.
Although there are rumors, there was a Lotus that sold for over 500,000 a few months ago, and the rumor going around is that it may have been Post Malone that bought it. So maybe he plays Vintage too, or just, I don't know. I guess if you have that much money, why not buy a Black Lotus at that point?
What if he's causing reserveless buyouts, Seth?
What if it's what if that's actually, it's the long con and he doesn't actually like Magic, he's just trying to MTG finance. So I think it's actually a pretty big deal. Like, can you think of anyone else anywhere near Post Malone's level that as far as a celebrity that actually like plays Magic, or at least we know plays Magic? I'm sure there are some people that do that maybe we haven't heard about, but when I think of Magic celebrities, I think of like Cassius Marsh, for example, like, who was an NFL player, and he's known compared to someone who's famous for streaming Magic. He's definitely way more famous, but I also don't think he's anywhere near, Post Malone level as one of the like most famous musicians like in the world, arguably. Is there anyone even close to Post Malone's level that you know of that plays Magic?
Oh.
Are there any people in the world close to his level? Like, how many are there, right? Like what, The Rock has to bust out some Magic cards?
If The Rock played Magic, he'd have to play
The Rock.
Golgari. Yeah.
All right, how about so who would be number 2? Let's put it that way. Let's say Post Malone's number 1. Who's the second most famous Magic player?
Who's that baseball player that plays Magic? Wasn't there a well-known baseball player?
Hunter Pence?
Who's more famous, him or Cassius Marsh?
Ooh, that's probably close. I would say it might. I think football's more popular than baseball, but I think Hunter Pence is probably more famous within baseball than Cassius is within football, I would say.
Yeah. Because like I definitely watched Hunter Pence, like, you know, World Series, all of that. So like
yeah, he was like a World Series star or whatever at one point a few years ago.
Giants.
San Francisco, right? Yeah, he was part of their like World Series team.
Is he like a starting pitcher or like a relief pitcher?
He's retired. He was like an outfielder or something.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He was not a pitcher.
Oh. Not a pitcher.
Yeah.
But he was a starter, so.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, I think it's like there's the actor that plays Deathstroke. I think he plays it also. I know he plays D&D. Because he definitely makes. Yeah, I know that, but
someone said, I didn't even know who this person was, but you probably won't. Director of some Kong movie that made a ton of money like 3 years ago. Some Kong Island.
Oh, well, who's the director?
Kong Skull Island. I'm trying to actually find the name again. It was like a French sounding name, I think. Yeah. All right. I guess I can't find it at the moment. Maybe I should not have brought that one up. Kong Skull Island. The director of Kong Skull Island, whose name is Jordan Voight Roberts. Ring a bell?
No. I mean, I watched all the Kong movies, but
I just watched Godzilla. but yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
I think like Day 9 is up there of like, if you actually think about like, or like other streamers probably have more presence, right, than most of these people that we're naming, aside from like Post Malone, right? So like any like famous streamer, like if you actually think about streamers, like just like normal streamers, when you're streaming to 50,000 people, that's like streaming to a full football stadium. That's like ridiculous, right? If you actually think about that and process that for a minute, now you're just sitting at home in your underwear or whatever, you're streaming to like a football stadium. So I actually think some of these other like paid or either non-paid, but like streamers, like non-Magic streamers playing Magic is actually like a lot more exposure than some of these celebrities we're trying to list off.
Speaking of non-Magic players playing Magic, good segue, Richard. The Wizards announced the world's Okayest Magic player tournament, featuring 4 new players or casual players as a promotional thing. Who is in that tournament, and what do you guys think about that?
I see. So the thing here is, it's apparently, so there's are they chess players, right?
Okay, so the names, I wasn't familiar with them. Annie the Duck, who cosplayer streamer according to Twitter, RT Game Crowd, streamer of some kind, from Ireland, I believe. Rose Ellen Dix, who I'm not exactly sure what she does. Anna Chess is a chess player who is relatively well known. So it looks like a mixture of like streamers or content producers from non-Magic games that have mostly a lot of followers. I think they all are mostly like 300, 400,000 followers on Twitter at least.
Well, okay. So yeah, so they are pulling from other like crowds and whatnot. And I mean, I think the title of it is like pretty funny. The world's most okayest Magic player. But yeah, like I'm not actually sure how these events work. Like, it sounds interesting to me, but I'm already into Magic, right? So like, I'm curious how this like feels for the people coming from like, you know, the respective communities that they're coming from. But I think it could bring like a few eyes over, but I don't know how much it'll actually work.
Yeah, that's something I've been wondering about, how much it brings over, because the interesting part about the tournament for me is it seems like it's not focused on Magic players. Like maybe there's some Magic players who will watch it out of novelty,
Yeah.
But it seems like the tournament is designed to bring in the audiences of the people in the tournament, chess players, streamers from other games. Are a ton of those people going to tune in to watch? I'm very curious. And how many of those people will convert into Magic players? Richard, what do you think? Like, is this going to be a success, this form of advertising?
I think it'll be a success. I don't think it costs a lot. And I think this is the right audience, right? Like, it's not for us. It's not like a give me or something, or like a free event for us, the Magic community. It's for getting new people into this crowd. So if you think about people who would play Magic, right? I think people who are interested in chess would also be interested in Magic. So having this event, I think, will bring some people, right? It's not like, 90% of the people will come, right? It'll be something like 4% of the people that watch this will come. But 4% of, combine all the followers, what are we at? Like 1 million, 500,000, something like that. That's like a significant number, right? So while I don't like how they cut budget from some of our activities, like, release day events, I do see this as like a good use of money, right? Like that, if they're going to try to get new players into the game, I think this would work. For the event itself, I actually think it's funny that it's world's okayest Magic player. Like, if these people are top tier chess players, they will destroy like most Magic players, right? Like, if you're good at chess, you'll probably be very good at Magic. So I'd actually want to, I'm curious if they get like an actual like really good chess player and just like train them for a couple months in Magic and then just pit them against Magic pros. I wonder what would happen, right? Like, I'm actually kind of curious as to how well the skills transfer over, if there's any transfer at all, and like how those go. But yeah, having like a chess grandmaster play some Magic, that'd be pretty interesting. I'd actually watch that.
Isn't Stanislav Sivka like a grandmaster?
Yes.
I don't know if Magic came first for him or chess came first. I guess he's also just kind of like, he's like, I don't know. He's just like a freak. He's like a freak athlete who can like play any sport really well. I think that's Sivka. Like, it just seems like no matter what game he picks up, he's like, oh, I'm going to go play Hearthstone now. I'm going to go play chess now. And he's just like literally one of the best in the world at any game he decides to play.
Yep. That is super interesting to me. Right. But it's too high level. I can't understand it. I'm curious how these people will understand Magic. Like, okay, I'm going to cast this MDFC. Let me spend 8 minutes to read both halves and make sure like, I don't know. Are they playing like core set? Like, what's going on? This is going to be pretty interesting.
Are either of you going to tune in to watch it?
I think I am, just because I want to see how it all plays out, just for the fun of it. So I'll definitely be swinging in for a little.
I think I'll check the production. If the production is out of this world, I'm going to be very upset, right? Like, if the production is normal Magic production, I'll be like, okay, right? But yeah, just check it out, see what it is. Like, see what they're playing, see if they're like sitting there explaining, well, the stack, I'm going to put things under the stack. We're going to resolve them in reverse order. This thing has trample. It means damage goes over the creature. Like, I wonder if they're actually going to explain all that, or they're just going to like play Magic. I'm actually curious what the structure of this is going to be.
Yeah, I might tune in just for the novelty of it too, like, because I don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'd spend my entire day watching it, but I am interested to see how they try to pull this off. So,
would you rather watch this or MPL?
Oof. Probably this, I guess. MPL if it was like around set release, but with the current meta, probably this, I guess.
So it is for Magic players. See, it all worked out.
Or maybe the MPL is not for Magic players.
That is the true answer.
That's something I did not factor into this one.
All right. So any other thoughts on advertising, celebrities playing the game, et cetera, before we move on? All right, so next on our list, we have some Wizards financial news, I guess. This week was Q1 report week for Hasbro, and we got a bit of Magic information out of the reports. Richard, how's Magic doing these days?
Very well, Seth. Very well. According to Hipsters of the Coast, Wizards revenue up 15% in Q1 2021. Kaldheim was Magic's best-selling winter set ever. Blah, blah, blah. D&D Magic double digits growth, blah, blah, blah. Just a lot of numbers, but Magic is doing very well.
I mean, that's good. I think that's good. We want Wizards to make money. I want Wizards to make money. Sometimes it's hard to sort out why Magic is doing well and how much of it is the traditional pillars of Magic, like the 4 standard sets a year, and how much of it is things like Secret Lair drops bringing in extra money. But I mean, it's heading in the right direction. And in theory, the more money Wizards makes, hopefully the more money they invest in the game and invest in cool things. Although I will say it does make me a little sad when I see numbers like this and I see like the big promotions they're doing, the Mr. Beast thing and the, Okayest Magic player thing. And then they're like cutting early access day and things like that. It does make me a little bit like, come on, you're making 15% more money. You can't scrape off like $20 and have an early access day for us to play the game. Come on, WotC.
I actually don't like this news, right? Like if it basically means whatever happened in the past year is going to happen like times 2x next year, right? So if you're not happy with Secret Lairs, well, too bad, it's working. If you're not happy with Kaldheim being a terrible set for standard or, being not impactful set for standard at the very least, doesn't matter. Standard's not important, right? Money is up. So while I do like that, Wizards not going bankrupt, that's good. The game is not dying. It is doing very well, and it's doing very well with things like us old school Magic players don't particularly like, right? They're just going to do more of it. So in that sense, it's kind of a double-edged sword. And, what this tells me is more Secret Lairs, more sets on Arena, more collector boosters, more 800 versions of every card, more non-standard focused standard sets. I don't even know what to call them anymore, right? Like expansion sets, right? So yeah, expect more of that to come.
Yeah, the disconnect is a little strange. How I remember that like a couple of years ago when we were having all the massive like bannings and there were big freakouts about the start of Secret Lairs. And then when you see the finance numbers, it's like, oh, Magic, it's up. It's doing better than ever. And I'm like, wow, how is that even possible? Like the disconnect about, I think what, especially like more enfranchised competitive players want the game to be and what actually makes money seems to be pretty big at this point because competitive players have been complaining about, I've been complaining about, and I'm not even the most competitive players, like no GP coverage, changes to sets, the endless bannings, like metagame after metagame where the top deck is 50, 75% of the meta. And at the same time, Wizards is, raking in money hand over fist. So I definitely see where you're going with that, Richard. And I guess it is a little bit concerning. I guess it also shows that the people complaining on social media are either a very small minority or they're people who are still spending money. Like you complain about the Secret Lair and then you buy them, and you complain about whatever meta and then you buy a deck for it. So
it's like, I hate the new Secret Lair, these exclusive cards. So once a drop coming, yeah, let me get my credit card. Right. I mean, it just shows where the disconnect, right? Like clearly there's no disconnect between Wizards and their customers because their revenue keeps growing, right? So it means that we are the disconnect, right? We are the minority that, competitive Magic is not the priority. It's not what's making the money, which sucks. But, the question is this a long-term, like, is this a long-term strategy? Can they keep this going or will this fall apart at some point? Right. The old timers will say, oh, they're trading in for short term profits. Right. But then the new generation saying is like, no, you guys are old. Right. Like this is the new way. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Krim?
See, I think for like this, there's a huge market of players that just aren't on Twitter complaining about the new Secret Lair or all that stuff. Right. So there's definitely a huge market that just probably doesn't even check Reddit or any of that stuff when it comes to Magic. And those are the people that are out there I think make up for a huge portion of this. I think they're the ones that are like, cause we're already kind of like enfranchised players and all this stuff, but I'm like 90% sure there's just people that play and it's just all like tabletop to them and it's big in their life, but just because, they play with their friends and that's as like, much as their Magic knowledge goes.
Yeah, I think it does show how big the casual market is. I think if there's one big lesson for me over the last couple of years, it really is that the people trying to grind to pro tours in that level of play really aren't that impactful to the bottom line of Magic. When it comes down to it, like that's the crowd you hear. And that's the crowd that you see on social media and is posting on Reddit and is making content or streaming.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, like 99.9% of people playing Magic are not those people who are making content or talking about it on social media. They're just like picking up some cards, and it's those people who are really driving the Magic. But as someone who makes content and is a very enfranchised player, I don't know, maybe I think we almost value ourselves more highly than we should. Like we think we're more important to the ecosystem Magic than we actually are.
Yeah,
I mean,
I believe that. I think that's pretty, that's very much so true, right? I mean, that there's like, just like playing with friends that don't even, like a while back, right? I played with tons of friends, and, I asked them, hey, do you know who this is? Like my friend would, like we would just kind of like sit and talk, and they're like, no, what's an LSV? Right? Is that a new like Magic card? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, no. And so you ask people about like the big, social media presences in the world of Magic, and they just have no idea who these people are. And it is, and a little bit like what Seth said, yeah, like me, I think that maybe the people that are like out there complaining and whatnot are like, and like all of us doing everything that we're doing, I think that we are not as big as we think we are in the ecosystem of Magic. So I definitely agree with that.
Like in the 90s and like early 2000s, you needed John Finkel, you needed Kai Bude to sell your Magic packs, right? 2021, you need Mr. Beast, right? You need Post Malone, right? You need Anna Chess, right? That's just kind of the way it's going, right? So given that trend, I expect pro Magic to be more and more marginalized, right? Like there's no, like, who do you think would get more views? An LSV match or a Post Malone match, right? It'd be Post Malone, like not even close, right? Like not even close, right? So Wizards would be better off investing in somehow making Post Malone agree to this, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, I think that definitely is the way that is. Oh, there's other news to come out of the quarterly report, and this is probably going to be a little bit controversial. So there might be a new Magic product coming down the line, Richard. What are they thinking about making?
All right. So Hasbro CEO Brian Goldner was talking about generating NFTs for Transformers and G.I. Joe. Now, NFTs, if you don't know, is like some blockchain technology. It's basically something digital that allows you to prove that you have a authentic copy, right? So what you can do is say, this is an authentic something. This is like the number one something, and it is 100% accurate, if you use the NFT. So what this allows you to do is just make collectibles, right? And there's things that have sold for like hundreds of millions already because they just, took a photo or took something and then stamped an NFT on it, and then someone owns number one. So they said G.I. Joe and Transformers, but it's not hard to imagine that in the future, they start making NFT Magic products, that you will have NFT, I don't know, mystical archives or something, right? Where when you have this NFT, you know that you have number one of 200 or something, right? What do you guys think about that?
Just a quick note. If you read further into or listen to the conference call, he actually did mention Magic as well. Like that was one of the brands that he listed off. So yeah. I don't think Magic made the headline of the article we're looking at, but he did mention Magic as being one of the brands they were thinking of. This is a hot button issue. I think the big thing with NFTs that a lot of people have an issue with is the potential like environmental impact of them, which I am definitely not an expert on. So I'm not sure how bad they are for the environment, but that's one thing that I've definitely heard a lot about the NFT thing. And the biggest problem a lot of people have with them, I don't really see the point of them personally, because you don't really own anything. My understanding of NFTs is like you pay a bunch of money for the blockchain, whatever, and you get a code or something, but you don't own the rights to it. It's not like you can license it out or do anything with it. So you're just paying a lot of money for bragging rights, essentially. Like, I'm really not sure. Is it just a finance market? It's a
certificate of authenticity, right? Like if I sell you a Black Lotus, right? I give you, there is no such thing, but I would give you a certificate of authenticity that cannot be forged. And it's the real one. So just like kind of like you have a Black Lotus versus a graded Black Lotus, the graded one is worth more because it's been graded and there's a guarantee behind it, right? But NFTs allow you to do this without having some company behind it. So that's the idea. Now there's always implementation issues, right? Like the NFT is a digital product, right? You have an actual physical product. Nothing stops you from like copying that physical product, right? If you can copy it very well, you can use it, but you wouldn't have the certificate. Like I could photocopy your Black Lotus. Maybe I could do it very well, but I can't photocopy your certificate of authenticity. So that's the whole point. And I don't understand it either, but I do understand that people have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on NFTs already in non-Magic products, right? So it is not a stretch to me that people will spend hundreds of millions with Magic related NFTs. Like people have sold paintings, people have sold like shoes, people have sold art, like all kinds of things have sold on NFTs for absurdly high amounts of money already, right? So I that's why I think this will happen and this will make a lot of money.
But you wouldn't be able to do anything with them, right? Like let's say you get a Black Lotus NFT, you can't play it.
Well, you would theoretically get a Black Lotus with it, right? You would get a Black. So it would be like there is a new secret Lair, I don't know, Mox Opal, right? And we're only making like 500 of them and they have NFTs attached to them. And then, so you get a Mox Opal and you get your NFT with it. And then it would be something like that, right? And it would theoretically be special. It would be like Marl's toenails, right? Like something super special and they can guarantee it's special. And you can guarantee you have the right one and you didn't just like clip your fingernails and call them Maro's fingernails or something, right? Like it's a guarantee.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense looking at it from that perspective. What do you think about all this, Crib?
The NFT thing, I think it's like at first it seemed kind of interesting, but then I think I don't know about it in terms of Magic. I more so think of it just like outside of Magic. Like if let's say I sold you a famous photograph or something like that, does this like kind of like ruin just art? Like does it not just make it like, so like the regular a picture of like, I don't know, Richard, the original picture of Richard, does it not affect that? Like I feel like this kind of could ruin the just authenticity of the original art piece, right? Because then here comes this new version of the piece, like this new picture of Richard, and now it's got the NFT stamp on it, right? Is it the original? Are you getting the original photo, or what am I buying here when it comes to the new NFT?
You're just getting a photo, right? And there's a difference between one that's been stamped with the NFT and one that's not.
That isn't, right? So like example, like I'm not getting the original Mona Lisa. I am getting a different version, but with the NFT stamp.
Yeah, but like a lot of them are things that exist everywhere. Like I just saw like a Disaster Girl. Do you know the meme of like the little girl that the house is burning and she's smiling? Like she just sold the NFT of that for $500,000.
Yep.
But that's an image that I can type into Google and do anything with it anytime. There's a million copies of it.
Here's a good
on
example.
the internet.
So let's say Commander Clash next season, episode 1. We make an NFT for it and we sell it. Okay. So someone owns the NFT for episode 1, and there's only one of those in the world, right? And along with that, they actually got the video file. The video file they can copy, right? They can just copy it they can put it on YouTube. It can be all over the place. There are hundreds of thousands of copies of episode 1, but there is only one NFT. So they have the original and they only have the original.
But why? Okay.
Well, why buy the Mona Lisa, Seth? You can just get a print of it and put it on your wall, right? Why buy the original, right? Like that's kind of the like you own something that no one else owns, and that's the appeal of it. Like why buy anything, right? Like why subscribe to Patreon, right? You can get their content for free, right? Like it's just you want to be a part of it. You want to have that guarantee.
You essentially turn everything into a collectible card game.
Yes. And I was gonna say the one place that actually makes sense is like Magic Arena, right? If every card was its own NFT, you could buy and sell cards. Wizards can take a cut. So NFTs also have something built in where like the original creator can take a cut of all transactions. So you can buy and sell Magic cards off of Magic Arena, right? Like you can just go to some random NFT marketplace, sell your cards. It's guaranteed to be authentic. You can use it in Magic Arena. Like it would actually make sense if we were all online and there was an actual open economy instead of being a CCG. And I don't know if Wizards will do that.
That'd probably make Arena cheaper, actually. Somehow bringing NFTs to the game would reduce the cost. Oh my goodness!
So I mean, when you buy art, right? Would you buy an original painting of a piece of Magic art?
I mean, maybe.
So let's say it's digital. Let's say it's digital art. Would you buy the NFT of it? Right? It's the same, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I still don't really get the appeal, I guess. I definitely can see what you're saying and how it has value. I guess it's just something that isn't for me, that I personally wouldn't be interested in spending money on. What do you think it would look like in Magic, though? Do you think it would literally just be Magic cards? Like an actual like Black Lotus or, a Gaia's Cradle or whatever? Or would it be artwork, something custom? Like how would you implement NFTs of Magic IP?
Art is easy, right? Art, like people do art. I can see cards.
How many ways would that split? NFT. How many ways would that split though? Because then you would have, you said it already, like there's a thing where the original like creator of it gets a cut of it, right? So then does that then, could I, like, would there be an NFT? I was going to call it MDFC.
That's the new Magic card.
MDFC
NFT. Could there be an NFT of like, I don't know, the first printing of a Strixhaven blue card, right? Or whatever. Would that then split between Magic, the artist, and the printing company? How would that work?
It's whoever
like
made NFT
Magic
to decide. Yeah, it's whoever made the NFT decides that, right? But so as a consumer, you have the first blue card. That's all you know, right? What's happening behind the scenes and who splits the profits or whatever, that's unknown to us, just like it is today, right?
Yeah. So essentially, the people that determine what's an NFT, like what's got an NFT attached to it, is that just some random like third party group of people that just sit there, kind of like how CGC looks and sits at like and grades comic books?
No, whoever makes the thing that they're stamping NFT on controls the NFT terms for that thing.
So couldn't we all just make an NFT?
Yes, you can make an NFT right now. We can make an NFT right now.
So like
would it be worth anything? I don't know.
I could put an NFT to Seth's beard.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing that's really weird is you can do it with other people's IP somehow.
Yeah.
Like you can just be like, hey, here's this picture that someone made.
Right.
I will sell the NFT of it. Like, sorry, artist, like it's mine now.
Yeah. So I
don't really understand how that's legal.
I mean, there's
sell the NFT of Seth's beard.
There's a reputation, right? Just like, when I ask for a certificate of authenticity, Krim can just make one on his computer and send it to me. But I know the one from Krim has no bearing, but maybe the one from Beckett is more important, right? And you joke about that, but a lot of comic artists, there's like a big battle going on with comic artists versus the studios like Marvel and DC. Where
Marvel and Ed Brubaker, who made the Winter Soldier. I mean, I don't think there's like actually a big dispute on it right now, but yeah.
But you can draw some art and then slap NFT on it, and then Marvel's like, wait a minute, we own the rights to this character, right? You can't make this NFT, right? And then there's all that stuff happening as well. So it's a new area. So like people really don't know what's going on, and like people are trying things, and it looks like Hasbro is putting their hat into the thing. But I could totally see like they do a charity event, right? Or the holiday promos they give to creators and Wizards family. They could put an NFT behind that, right? Mm-hmm. They can be like, look, there's only 500 of these, right? We'll put it out. Or let's say they print a special promo card like a one-off, and they auction it off for charity. Right. And they say, look, there's this one special card and it's guaranteed to be special and we're going to auction it off for charity and we're going to have a charity event. I think they would start like something like that where when you look at like, wow, that's sold for 20 million, but they're like, oh, it's for charity. It's okay. Right. Like you won't balk at it. And then eventually they'll just like sell things for profit. But I think they would start with something charity related so that it doesn't look too crazy. Right. You're like, oh, we just raised 50 million for charity. It's great. Right.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good way to maybe get around some of the criticism. Speaking of environmental impact, I bought a collector's booster at Walmart the other day. Have you guys seen the packaging for the new collector boosters? It's literally a single pack is literally like a novel. It is like 2 inches thick. I lined it up next to an actual full booster box, and it's like almost as big as an actual full booster box, but there's one tiny pack in the middle of it on the inside. It's like 5 pounds of cardboard to sell you a a single booster pack, and it's shrink wrapped and everything. What do you think about that? Like, I feel like Wizards just kind of made a big deal about making Commander packaging more environmentally friendly. And then I went to Walmart and I was like, good Lord, that is an excessive amount of packaging for a single booster pack. Like, ugh, I don't know. Maybe this is too big of a topic, but how do you think Magic does with its environmental impact? Because I know that's one of the big things about NFTs that people have criticized, but maybe like we're not doing that that good of a job at, minimizing our environmental impact in our game.
I think they're trying, and you might argue they could try harder. But so if you don't know, the latest Commander product, they have minimal packaging, which means it just comes in, a brown box or something. And like, that's it. Whereas like Seth said, when you sell things in stores, it needs to look good. Have you seen Pokemon cards, by the way, where they have like special products? It's like 4 cards and the box is like half of the aisle, right? Like it's like this giant box. And the reason is it needs to look grand. It needs to take up space. You need to like catch your eye when you're walking down the aisle. Like if they sold $100 booster in like a penny sleeve and like a brown little envelope, you'd be like, is that $100? Yeah. That doesn't look right. They need to make it grand. So for people like us who don't care about this, we know what the cards are worth. Like this is just all useless packaging, right? But for, a random person, this is kind of important, right? It's part of the marketing. But I do think Wizards is trying to go in the right direction. They've done it with like the C21. I like to see them do the Secret Lair. If you open Secret Lair, it's also like, you're paying for like $30 of shipping, which something could have fit in a penny sleeve in an envelope, right? And if you bought it, you've already bought it. Like the packaging is not doing much marketing anymore. So I don't know, right? But this is not a thing, just Wizards. Like, have you bought an Apple product? Right? Like they come with like very elaborate packaging to make you feel good about the amount of money you just spent. Right? You're like, yes, this feels grand. This feels special. So,
but it doesn't feel like it's like excessive though when it comes to like buying the like example. Like getting a new phone, it comes in this small little box, right? But I started chuckling because I started thinking about like, what if Wizards just sent us a top loader?
They should, right?
And it's just like a little sticker on it.
Plain white envelope.
Lair.
Yep.
The worst is international shipping, right? Where people are paying $30 because they're getting a giant box of air, and they're like, "Yo, just give me the penny loader, give me the top loader," right? Like it's all I need. It should cost like $2 to ship this Secret Lair. But you're getting this like giant box of air and you're paying for it too, right? So not only environmental impact, but wallet impact, right? So
I will say, I know they've also had issues with people like stealing from places like Walmart and like opening packages and returning them and things like that. So it might also partly be a security measure to try to keep people from doing that. Still not sure if it needs that much packaging, if that is the goal, to be more secure, but yeah, definitely interesting. It caught me by surprise just how massive the single booster box was, or pack was. It was like a booster box.
I mean, have you opened a normal booster box? I just opened Battle Bond the other day and I was done. I'm like, look at this giant pile of like wrappers. Like it feels so wasteful, right? You're like, what do? I just throw it in the garbage, right? Like, was this necessary? I don't know, right? But they tried the cardboard packaging with Modern Masters and that was a complete fail, right? Your cards came out all damaged.
You could hear the cards just like move around in the pack. again. I'm just like, oh.
And they were really easy to gain too.
Yeah.
I remember that being another issue, that you could just kind of undo the glue and take out cards and then glue it back up. So
I think it was Modern Masters 2 where you could. I feel like the foils were heavier than the rest of the
weighing packs.
You could
at
just
Walmart.
hear it like, yeah.
all right, let's get to some fish mail. It's been a couple of weeks, I feel like, since we've answered any fish mail questions, so we got to make sure we get to some today. Richard, fish mail us.
All right. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. 11 Vicious. What is more likely to get printed in black border? Legendary fetchable duels that come into play untapped with no downside, or a Mox that taps for any color but deals 2 damage to you each time you tap it for mana?
Wait, what's the initial like?
So basically a dual land that's legendary, right? That's fetchable.
Okay.
And then an Ancient Tomb Mox. Actually, no, wait. No, a Mox that taps for any color but deals 2 damage to you. So basically,
Every time you tap
yeah.
it, or like every upkeep or something.
I think every time you tap it.
Yeah, so you're taking like 2 every time you tap it. This is kind of interesting. I would say power level wise, legendary duels would be more likely to be printed. I think the Mox would be absurdly broken. Like there's no way that you could print that in black border. On the other hand, the Mox is probably okay by the reserve list rules, when apparently legendary duels that are fetchable are kind of violating the spirit of the reserve list type of issues from Wizards' perspective. So I'm not sure if we'll get legendary duels with Wizards' current understanding of the reserve list, just because I think they think that it's too close to violating the reserve list, even if it doesn't technically violate the letter of the law.
I think the Mox, because logistically that's 1 card you can put into a set, whereas the legendary duels you would need at least 5 or 10 slots, and it's a big deal. And I think we will get more effective Moxes, like Mox Amber, things like that, where they're going to have some condition, but the condition is irrelevant, or people have found a way around it. So I think something close to this Mox will happen. And we keep getting, like, we get a Mox like every 1 or 2 years anyway, right? So we'll get another one.
Wouldn't it be absurdly broken? Like, wouldn't it be super broken?
I think
or
the
no?
Mox would be pretty broken.
Yeah.
If we're talking about power level, I think the Mox would be broken.
What if they put into Commander Legends and then it's only legal in Vintage and Legacy, I guess? So I guess Legacy would be broken. Vintage, like, just add another Mox to the pile, right? And then Commander gets a Mox.
Yeah, what's one more? Okay, yeah, all right. I mean, I guess you can print it and then just ban it. It would probably be fine in Commander, I guess.
Is it? Is it really? It'll be NFT Mox. That's
Hey, we
what
got
we'll know
Soul
for sure,
Ring.
though, right? That's true. That's true. The Joe Doan. Hey, MTG Goldfish, the episode with Andrew Cuneo was gas, but competitive limited was never brought up. I think this could be a way paper standard sets could come back post-pandemic.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, yeah. The only thing is, like, I don't feel like limited has ever been that popular competitively. I think that's the sticking. I remember having serious conversations like a few years ago before Arena or the pandemic was a thing. And there were like actual conversations about, should we even have limited at Pro Tours, or like, should we just get rid of it and have like modern in standard or something rather than limited in standard or limited in modern. So maybe things have changed. I feel like limited has kind of had a bit of a moment with the events they're doing on Arena, and it seems like maybe it's growing in popularity, but I'm still not sure. It's not a great spectator sport, honestly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't watch, like, because I watching Pro Tours and GPs or whatever, right? Like I would always skip out on the limited parts.
That's where you get to sleep in. You sleep in for the first 3 rounds
Yeah.
and then wake up for constructed. I know how that is.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, oh, cool, limited's on. I'm going back to bed. How much more? Oh, it's round 1. I'm gonna sleep for another 2 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Wizards has always put a high priority on limited, and it's theoretically a way new players get into the game. Like, you don't need a pre-existing deck to show up at FNM and play limited. But at the same time, can you really go to FNM blind and play limited? Like, you would spend like literally 40 minutes just reading card text.
Definitely.
So it's like very difficult for a new player to play limited. So I actually don't know. But in terms of like actual invested players, we don't like limited that much. right? Like it just doesn't do well in Pro Tours.
I do think that limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think limited is a good. It's like more of like something I'd rather play than watch. That's
I was gonna say it's like baseball. It's exactly like baseball. Like baseball, wow, is the worst thing I can imagine watching. They're like seriously, give me Lord of the Rings. I will watch all of them in a row before I watch a baseball game.
There's some angry baseball
but if you
fans.
play it, it's not that bad.
Oh, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. Come on, baseball.
Watching it, I find it so boring.
Lord of the Rings, though, Seth.
Okay, so we know that Seth, there's something below Lord of the Rings. It is baseball. So okay, yes.
I had to make sure I angered some group this podcast. We almost got through it without pissing anyone off.
yeah. Drop it at the end.
Ninth Echo, what do you think about the Mystical Archive method of reprinting cards? Do you think we'll start seeing more reprints of powerful / needed cards outside of dedicated master sets now that there's a way to do it without affecting format legality?
I think we'll see more Mystical Archives. I do. So yes, I guess so. I think it's got to at least very much appeal to it. I think it does two things. It sells a set that otherwise might be hard to sell, which I think might be one of the reasons why we have Mystical Archives and Strixhaven. Also seems like a great way to get wildcards out of people on Arena, because you can bump up all the rarity and get people to spend rare wildcards on commons. So I would be surprised if we didn't see more things similar to Mystical Archives in the future.
Yeah, like it's been this way now, since Battle for Zendikar, when we saw, what was the first wave with Expeditions? Sets that
Battle
were
for Zendikar, I think, was the
pretty much pretty whack. Yeah, like the sets that were pretty whack, they decided we're going to throw in, here, Expeditions. Now you want to buy the set, right?
Expeditions, Invocations, Masterpieces. We've had this kind of card for a long time.
Yeah. So like, and like it really helps when sets are like, they seem inconsequential to the current standard format. Like the Battle for Zendikar, I don't think I would have bought a single pack if it weren't for the Expeditions. Because there's nothing that I really wanted outside of Gideon.
I would say these sets are not like, it's not Strixhaven the set, right? It's Mystical Archive the set, right? Like there aren't that many expensive cards in Strixhaven, right? Like what's the most expensive rare or something, like $3 or something, right? Like not much, right? It's all being eaten up by Mystical Archives, and the Mystical Archives are the true lure to the set, and then you're getting some Strixhaven cards on the side to pretend you can play something with, right? Like you're really going after those Mystical Archive, like demonic tutors and whatever, right? Not like name a chase rare from Strixhaven. I can't even think of one, right? Like they're just not worth much, right?
Yeah, that's very true. I do think that's kind of an upside, which is something I might do an article or video on at some point. But because of things like Mystical Archives and all the crazy versions of cards, you can just get the normal like base versions of a lot of cards for really cheap in paper. I guess maybe the pandemic plays into it too, but whenever I just like look over the prices of a set like Strixhaven or Kaldheim, I'm like, wow, those cards are just really cheap. Like the mythics, the rares, even the ones that do see play, like Elite Spellbinder or Magmobas or whatever, they're like $2 or $3, when I feel like if we had this same set like 5 years ago and we didn't have Mystical Archives and we didn't have 20 versions of every card with so many different borders and arts, I think these cards would be a lot more expensive. Like, so it is nice for players, I think, to some extent, that you can get a really good deal on some powerful stuff.
I got the formula, Seth. You go first. Is it time to reprint Shocklands? Is it time to reprint Fetchlands? If not, create a new border, right? Get cards from Magic's history, some good ones, some chase ones, put them in your set. Like that's it. That's how you sell a standard set, right?
That is actually pretty much it, I think.
You can't just drop their trade
Wizards lawyers are calling me. Hold on, guys. Let me.
Yeah, you'll be getting your letter very soon.
Alex Lyon. Spells that can't be countered are trash, non-interactive gameplay. They replace hexproof with ward. For interactivity, let's get rid of uncounterable spells.
I will tell you right now that is just the truth. I think uncounterable. And then also on top of that, if they throw on indestructible, I'm not naming anything, but like uncounterable is just ridiculous. Come on now. I know people like resolving their spells, but that's why you just play more of them.
I think uncounterable is perfectly fine. Like it's not
like uncounterable. I think It's so ridiculous. Why does that exist? Like, as common as it does, I feel like every set there are a group of things that are just uncounterable or essentially like pseudo uncounterable, and I'm just like, why?
I feel like there should be hate for counter spells. Counter spells are like inherently powerful.
It's called every creature can't resolve, or else, and that's just not possible because power creep. So like, it's like. I'm surprised Uro just didn't have uncounterable tacked on top of it.
Well, I mean, I think you got to do it within reason. I wouldn't want uncounterable Okos or Uros running around, but I do think like Mistcutter Hydra and like even Carnage Tyrant, cards like that, I think it's good to have access to like, I don't know, counterplay.
Like Gaia's Revenge. Like, like there's always been an uncounterable, like Thrun. There's always been that one green uncounterable thing, right? But now I feel like these uncounterable green things also do like 50 more things.
Yeah.
So
so you just don't like Toski, basically.
I mean, like there's Toski, and then of course, like uncounterable protection from blue shifting Ceratops, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff I think is kind of
agree
ridiculous.
with Krim there. Actually, I like there's just no counterplay to it. I hate like no counterplay on like all ends. Literally no counterplay, right? But they could do it like ward, right? Like you have to pay 2 more to target this spell on the stack, or you get something. Like if this spell is countered, you draw 3 cards, or any player who targets a spell on the stack loses 10 life, or like, they can do all kinds of things rather than just make it like, nope, you can't counter it. Because like, there's no interactivity. Just like kind of hexproof. At least hexproof you can get around, right? Hexproof you can wrath the board. Right? If it's uncounterable, I guess you got to let it resolve, hope it doesn't have ETB, and then bounce it. Right? Like,
or kill it, or you got to let it resolve. Poor control player, they had to let a spell resolve. It's the end of the world. We can't.
But they have like Ulamog triggers nowadays, Seth. Like you can't allow this. Like, right? You can't just kill things.
Like everything kind of already has uncounterable in a weird way where eventually, unless you're playing against rogues, if like a classic control deck now has to deal with not letting a single threat resolve.
What if you stasis them for a turn?
things.
If they counter, if they target the spell while it's on the stack, their permanents don't untap next turn. Glorious. Right? You have to pick and choose your counter spots.
What if they just give you a counter spell that can counter uncounterable spells?
It's called like exiling the spell on the staff, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Then people are going to be even more upset, and essentially it's just like, well, hold on. Now it's just exiled off the stack, which kind of gets around the counterspell clause. It's like, wait, so why did we even make uncounterable a thing then?
That's true.
All right. Coming to you in 2022 Magic. I mean, at some point they're going to decide that like creatures are too strong. They're going to go back to spells, and then we're going to see the most ridiculous counter spells ever, right? So, yeah.
I mean, it would just have to literally be like Arcane Denial, except you draw all the cards.
Yeah. So that's all our fish mail for this week. Thank you to everyone who sent in fish mail. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 327 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes on in the world of Magic. So, until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out. Sweet.